The Negro Leagues represent one of the most significant chapters in the history of American baseball. Spanning from 1920 to 1960, these leagues provided African American athletes with an opportunity to showcase their talent at a time when Major League Baseball, MLB, excluded black players due to racial segregation. The Negro Leagues were more than just an athletic organization. They symbolized resilience, perseverance, and the fight for equality within a deeply segregated society. The leagues flourished, creating legendary teams and producing some of the most exceptional athletes in baseball history. Racial segregation in American professional sports was a direct consequence of the broader social and legal framework of racial discrimination. The unwritten color line in Major League Baseball prohibited African American players from participating in organized professional leagues. This exclusion extended beyond the field and reflected the pervasive social norms of Jim Crow laws, which institutionalized segregation across various sectors of American life. In response to this exclusion, black baseball teams began forming as early as the late 19th century. The formation of independent black teams and leagues allowed African American players to compete at high levels and entertain black audiences. These teams toured the country, playing against local teams and even white semi-professional squads, but lacked an organized structure that would provide regular competition and stability. By the early 20th century, the growing number of independent black teams and the increasing popularity of baseball among African American communities created a need for a more formal organization. In 1920, Rube Foster, a former pitcher and manager, founded the Negro National League, NNL, marking the birth of the first sustainable professional African American baseball league. Rube Foster's vision for the Negro National League was ambitious. He saw it as a means to provide African American players with the recognition and respect they deserved, while also creating a profitable business for black team owners and operators. Under Foster's leadership, the NNL became the premier black baseball league in the United States, operating primarily in the Midwest. Teams like the Kansas City Monarchs, Chicago American Giants, and Indianapolis ABCs became household names in African American communities, drawing large crowds and showcasing elite talent. Foster's vision and organizational skills were critical in establishing a sense of legitimacy for the league and its players. The success of the Negro National League led to the formation of other leagues, including the Eastern Colored League, ECL, in 1923. These leagues were instrumental in creating a competitive environment for black baseball and provided a stage for some of the greatest players of the era. Stars like Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and Cool Papa Bell became legends within the African American community, and later in American sports history. Their exploits on the field were the stuff of legend, and their prowess helped elevate the status of the Negro Leagues as a whole. Despite their success, the Negro Leagues faced numerous challenges. Financial instability was a constant issue, as many teams operated on tight budgets and were subject to the whims of fluctuating attendance and economic conditions. The Great Depression hit black-owned businesses and the Negro Leagues hard, causing the collapse of several teams and leagues during the 1930s. The Eastern Colored League, for example, disbanded in 1928 due to financial difficulties, and the Negro National League struggled to remain afloat during the economic downturn. The Negro League's survival through these difficulties speaks to the resilience of both the players and the organizers. Teams often played grueling schedules, traveling hundreds of miles by bus to play games in small towns and cities across the country. They played in subpar facilities, often at odd hours to accommodate stadium rentals, and faced systemic racism at every turn. Yet, despite these obstacles, the Negro Leagues endured and continued to provide African American players with opportunities to excel on the field. The importance of the Negro Leagues extends beyond the realm of sports. These leagues were deeply embedded within the African American community and culture. Games were more than just sporting events. They were social gatherings where black fans could come together to celebrate their teams and players. Negro League baseball parks became cultural hubs where local businesses thrived and black culture was celebrated. In many ways, the Negro Leagues helped foster a sense of pride and identity within the African American community during a period of intense racial discrimination and segregation. The 1940s marked a turning point for both the Negro Leagues and Major League Baseball. World War II had a profound impact on American society. In 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball by signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, including sports. The integration of the military during the war laid the groundwork for broader social change, including the desegregation of professional sports. In 1947, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball by signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, marking the beginning of the end for the Negro Leagues. Robinson's success in the majors opened the door for other African American players to follow, and by the 1950s, Black athletes were gradually integrated into Major League Baseball. The integration of Major League Baseball had both positive and negative consequences for the Negro Leagues. On one hand, the success of players like Robinson, Larry Doby, and Roy Campanella demonstrated that African American athletes were among the best in the world. Their success in the major leagues validated the level of talent that had been present in the Negro Leagues for decades. However, the integration of MLB also meant the gradual decline of the Negro Leagues. As more Black players signed with major league teams, the Negro Leagues lost their best talent and their fan base began to dwindle. By the mid-1950s, the Negro Leagues had largely disbanded, with only a few teams remaining. The formal end of the Negro Leagues came in 1960, as the last of the surviving teams folded. The legacy of the Negro Leagues, however, remains an essential part of American baseball history. The players and teams of the Negro Leagues contributed significantly to the development of the game and the eventual integration of Major League Baseball. The Negro Leagues also provided a platform for African American athletes to showcase their talent at a time when opportunities were severely limited by racial segregation. The impact of the Negro Leagues can be seen in the lives and careers of the many players who went on to become Hall of Famers and legends of the game. Names like Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, and Josh Gibson are now synonymous with baseball excellence, and their legacies continue to inspire generations of athletes. Beyond the players, the Negro Leagues stand as a testament to the strength and determination of African American communities to create their own institutions in the face of exclusion and adversity. The history of the Negro Leagues serves as a reminder of the deep racial divides that once existed in American sports, but it also highlights the power of sport to challenge and eventually overcome those divides. The players of the Negro Leagues were pioneers, breaking down barriers both on and off the field, and their contributions to the game of baseball in American society continue to be celebrated today.